Hey, 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 good morning, everybody. Woo! How's everybody doing this morning? Welcome. Welcome on in. It is a beautiful day. It's a little chilly, but the sun is shining and it's so nice. I know that the first several Sundays that we were having in-person gatherings here, it rained every Sunday, and I was like, is that a sign? Are we washing things clean, or what are we doing? So glad that you're here this morning. Everybody who's joining us live stream, this is a really special day because every day is special. It's a choice that we get to make. But we do have some special stuff that we're going to be doing today. There'll be a lot of movement. So everybody who is watching, there is a little bit of pressure and expectation for you to get up and move where you are as well. Those who are gathered around TVs or what have you, wherever you might be, just get prepared. I think it's fun for us to get up and move together. Take a moment, if you would, and just maybe gently close your eyes and bring yourself into this space for a second. I know we've all had a lot going on this week. Every day offers opportunities for really great stuff and sometimes some not so great stuff. And we are thankful for all of the opportunities we get. We decide in this moment that we're going to see life as it is. We allow the truth to set us free from our conditioning. Because it is the truth that makes us free. We set ourselves in agreement with love. Because even the Christian Bible says that God is love. Ultimately, the divine nature is love. So I make this declaration and affirmation of my own life, that I will learn to love the way God does. And I know that the universe, God, pure presence, is eternal because it's always giving. So I give myself to the work of peace, to the work of love. Sometimes it is work, but I give myself to it. I surrender to that. I know that the Tao that can be named is not the eternal Tao, and I know that the Tao is kind to the kind and it's kind to the unkind because kindness is its very nature. So I set myself in alignment with that. And for all of this, I really do say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, God. Receive a deep breath if you would. And let it out with a sigh. And so it be. All right, all right, all right. I'm going to ask William if he would to come now, and let's get this thing rocking. We're going to get him set up with everything that he needs. So would y'all welcome Sir William? Sir William. That should be you.
Live testing. Cool. So I'm so happy to be able to share this today. It's some stuff I've done a lot of the last year, and it's just replacing bad energy with good energy. And bad energy, but let's define bad energy. And it can be anything from as intense as trauma, childhood abuse, childhood neglect, physical abuse, emotional abuse, death of a loved one, abandonment. Some of us may have experienced those things here today. It can be anything from that intense to something really mild, like somebody spills coffee on your white pants and you got to go somewhere and you want to be seen and you're angry. And when that happens, you got two choices. You can either express the anger at the other person and hurt them, or you can repress the anger and hurt yourself. And there is a third choice, which I hope we can get to through some of this kind of stuff. Today's going to be very abbreviated, but hopefully we will be able to do some of that today. So we're going to do this through breath work, body movement, and vocal toning. And there's an Eastern word for that. You're going to help me, Catherine? Tantra. Breath work, body movement, and vocal toning is Tantra. And we can use these principles to come together to bring up the bad energy, to expel it, and to replace it with good energy or divine energy. And so that's going to be our intention today. Is everybody on board with that? Okay. All right, cool. So we're going to do it through 5 steps. The first step is actually accessing the bad energy. And that's kind of difficult because we got our conscious mind and our unconscious mind, and we push the bad energy into our unconscious mind where it's not accessible. And we do that when we have trauma and we just can't deal with it. It's just too much for us to handle. It's too much for us to process at the time, or through us in a social situation like the coffee thing. I mean, we're not going to just go off on somebody because we are in a society and we want to get along with people. So we push it down and it's there. And so once we've done that, there's like a wall or like a membrane that separates it, and it's no longer accessible. So the first step is going to be to actually access that and bring it out. So the first step is through chaotic breathing. And I should defer and give some credits here. This is through the work of Osho, the dynamic meditation, also through the work of International School of Temple Arts, ISTA, and some of the work of Peter Levine. So I didn't make any of this stuff up. So every emotional state you're in has a particular breath pattern. If you're nervous, you have one particular breath pattern and your brain recognizes that. If you're angry, you have another breath pattern and your brain recognizes that. If you're joyful, serene, jealous, regardless of your emotional state, you have that breath pattern. So that keeps everything in order. But when we breathe in an irregular pattern, it confuses the gatekeeper. And he can no longer hold this energy down, and so it comes up. It's there. And I would actually encourage you, do not consciously think about your trauma. Just think about your body work. This is going to happen naturally. No need to re-traumatize yourself and bring all that back up. Just do the physical exercises and let it happen. So the first one is I call it the chaotic bird breath, because we're actually also flapping our wings. And we're doing this to activate our lymphatic system, because that also is in assistance with this. If you do any Eastern work in those meditations, you probably are aware of the pranayama, where you're exhaling and so we're going to actually access this through just flapping our wings, because we're going to get plenty of the shoulder workout later. So chaotic bird breath, and you're going to focus only on the exhale, not on the inhale. Just let the inhale take care of itself, because you don't want to overload yourself with what you're thinking. So I'm going to demonstrate, and then I would like us all to clear out a space. Let's move some chairs around to where we've got plenty of room to move around. Clear out your space, and after I demonstrate this, I'm going to ask everyone to kind of do it with me. We got it? Chaotic breathing, chaotic bird breath, step number 1. So step number 2 is, now that we've accessed that energy, we're going to purge that energy. And we're going to purge that energy, and through this we're going to make use of 3 of the 8 tools for emotional release that is taught by ISTA. And the first tool, if you were here last week, you already know it, it's shaking. But we're going to also add vocal toning. So we're going to shake and hum at the same time. Just hum. That's all you need to do. So it's just... So that will expel some of that energy. But we're actually going to alternate between 3 of the tools. And the next tool is really powerful, and it's the hip waggle. All right, so with the hip waggle, you're going to bend over as such. You're going to waggle your hips, which will also waggle your upper body. You're going to cover your mouth with both of your hands, and you're going to vocal tone. And the reason we're going to cover our mouth is because we don't want to get into a state of self-consciousness where we're drawing undue attention to ourselves. And as far as the vocal toning, it can be a hum, it can be an it can be a sing. You can sing into your hands, ah. You can scream into your hands, ah. And since your mouth is covered, you won't be self-conscious about drawing attention to yourself, and it will do it the same way. So let's all do that together. Oh, yeah. We got it. And the third tool for the emotional release is power stomping. And so there you're going to stomp, and you're going to raise your alternating hand, and you're going to ha as you do it. So it's going to be like ha, 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 ha. Come on, let's do it, guys. Beautiful. Beautiful. So those are the 3 ways that we're going to expel this bad energy that we've brought up. And then we're going to replace that energy with divine energy. Universal consciousness. And the way we've created this empty space, and the way we're going to replace that is through bouncing. Bouncing and raising our arms and repeating a mantra. And the mantra is, hoo, hoo, hoo. So I'm going to demonstrate. I'm going to remove my shoes first. I would like everyone to remove your shoes. I would like everyone to remove any restrictive clothing. Except brassieres. Ladies, you're going to need those. Hang on to those. So with that mantra, we're accessing, think up. We're accessing the energy from up, and we're bringing it down to fill us. The 4th stage is a frozen meditation. And in this stage, we're going to seal in the container. We're going to seal this energy in, and I will say, stop. In the middle of the hoo-hoo. And when you stop, freeze and maintain that frozen place. Now, you got 2 options here. You can either go intense, and in the intense version, when they freeze with their hands up. We're going to be in that place a little while, so I want to also give you an option for the less intense version. As soon as I say stop, drop your hands to your side. and freeze. And stay in that state, because any movement at all will leak this energy. Any cough, any scratch, any movement, you're going to leak it. But this isn't a test. If you leak a little energy at this time, not that big a deal. You can keep it sealed next time, because hopefully, you know, this will be something that you can make a regular practice in your life. And then the last stage is, after you've done all this, hopefully you will feel inspired to celebrate. So we're going to celebrate with a celebratory dance of gratitude. So that's where we're going with this. I'll be giving you a little direction as we go. I'm still connected. So, first stage, chaotic bird breath. Focusing on the exhale. Get your bodies into it. Okay, we're all doing it to the beat now. Let's mix it up. Exhale. Exhale, exhale, exhale. Out. Out, out, out. Out, 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 out. Out. Stay out of that pattern. Don't get into that pattern. We got to confuse the gatekeeper. Let your access your lymphatic system come hard into your sides. Don't get in a regular pattern. Exhale. Exhale, exhale, exhale. Just mix it up. Stay irregularly irregular. Get intense with this if you want this to work. Exhale, out, 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 out. Do a slow one. Now back into a pattern, and then mix it up. Keep mixing it up. Maybe everybody's had enough of that one. So now we're moving it on to shaking. Shaking and humming. Shake that energy out. Get rid of it. Shake your hips. Shake your shoulders. Shake your face. Forget the hip waggle, just alternate between the three. Check that energy out. Don't forget to vocal tone when you do this. Cover and scream. Cover that mouth and let it out. Power stomp. Ha! 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 Shake, hip waggle, power stomp, whatever feels right. You got it. Working this. I love it. All right, let's access that divine energy now. Let's bring it down. We're going to bounce. We're bouncing. Hands up. You're on a trampoline. Think up, not down. Bring that energy down. If you've got knee problems, you can do it on one leg, or you can just not go all the way up in the air and just kind of squat and come back up. But bring that energy down from the divine. Fill up this empty space that you've created. Beautiful. Become your breath. Very lovely. When I give the word and it's time to go to the next stage, remember to drop your arms immediately if you're going to go light. You're going to leave your arms up if you're going to stay intense. Stop. Freeze. not will your body to dance, but allow your body to dance. If your body feels like celebrating, if your body hears this music, and you feel the vibration, and your body wants to move, let your body celebrate. In any way that your body feels like moving, this is the celebration dance. Smiling, smile. If you're happy to be alive, if you're grateful to be alive, let yourself feel that. It's a miracle. We're alive. We are having a human experience of life. It's a miracle. We have this community of like-minded spirits where we can come together and share and love. And it is amazing. It is a miracle. So, if you participated in this with effort, a lot of you will, and on the live stream, a lot of you will, this will have ended and you will feel lighter, happier, and you will notice an immediate difference. A lot of you will notice no difference at all, and you'll think, well, that was a good exercise class, but I don't feel any different. But then this afternoon or later on in the week, you'll find yourself smiling for no reason at all. And that's that divine energy that you brought down into you. It will happen. And you'll find yourself feeling lighter and having more energy. This works. You may not feel it right now. You may. But especially with a repetitive pattern, this was a very light version. The real version is 1 hour, like 15 minutes of each of those things that we did for 2 to 3 minutes. But you know what? It's a start, and this concludes. And I'm so grateful to be able to share it with you this morning. It just fills my heart with love and gratitude. I just love it. Thank you, Bishop John.
Oh my God, did you just say that? Oh, wow. Oh. Everybody, one more time, a celebration clap. Just like, and let your voice out. Just let it. Woo. Thank you, Sir William, for sharing the energy with us. For everybody who is tuning in, who's from, some of you are connected to me through the years by way of the Charismatic and Pentecostal Church. What we just did was had a praise party. That's really what we would have called a praise party back in the day. Oh man, so good. Thank you. It feels so good in here. So I think we're ready to wait. I think if you're still connected to Bluetooth, if you'll just like jump over there quick, awesome. You are the man. All right, so I'm gonna cut this one on here, and then we should be able to get back on. I want to share a couple of things with you, but really, I want us to be able to really bask in this space. The thing is, we have access through what we're doing to modalities that connect us to the same presence that's been throughout time, eternity. So if you feel, like a little odd and it feels so different, it's out of your element, good. Because as I've mentioned to you before, shift is happening all around us. In fact, look at your neighbor and say, shift happens. And for us, the shift is hitting the fan, and we're getting our shift together. And we're moving into, we have already moved, even the celestial, the galaxies have been declaring a shift for this whole planet. And we need to allow ourselves to be in these places that sometimes make us feel uncomfortable. The deal is none of us make a shift personally until we become a little uncomfortable. Because while you're comfortable, you remain in the same space. That's why I used to hear people all the time say that the Holy Spirit, talking about the Holy Spirit in the Trinity, the Holy Spirit is our comforter. And I said, no, the best translation for that word, Holy Spirit, is helper, not comforter. You need a comforter if you're going to curl up on the couch and watch football this afternoon, which some of us might do. We're down to the wire. We've got some playoffs coming on. And I heard somebody, he told us about the tones, and somebody said, roll tide. I'm radically inclusive, and I'll say go dogs. Anyway, but staying in that, thank you, that sounded kind of like a dog. Staying with this space, and this recognition that we're all shifting right now. We're all moving towards something else. And people say to me, what are you guys doing? And I'm like, I have no idea. And I actually don't want any ideas about it. One of the things that I share with a few people in this room is my love of the Tao. And the Tao Te Ching says in the very first verse, the Tao that can be named or nailed down or described is not the eternal Tao. That presence, we've been trying to name God for generations because we want to try to control God. And so we even use the word G-O-D, whatever that really means. But the divine presence cannot be confined. It can't be defined. In fact, it's defining us. We are being done more than we're doing anything. So when I think about the discipline of faith is what we've been chatting about this month. When I think about the discipline of faith, what came to my mind this week was 3 words: perception, reception, and conception. Perception, reception, and conception. Because how we perceive the world is how we receive the world, and it will be how we project into the world, or it'll be how we conceive within the womb of our being, and what we birth out will be based on how we perceived and received. And so there's a question that's coming right now. And question is how we go on a quest. How many want to go on a quest? Let's go on a journey. Let's go on a quest together. The only way to go on a quest is to ask the question, because a question is an answer in seed form. Every time a question goes out, it's planted a seed for an answer to arrive. And here's the thing about answers. Answers are too solid for me, so I prefer responses. You know, somebody said one time, can you do a question and answer thing at One Love so we can ask some questions? I said, how about we do a question and response? Because answers, for me, are just a little too solid. But as I move through this faith walk, for me, I realize my perceptions need to change. It's changing the optics. It's being able to see more clearly. In fact, today's a great day for the song, I Can See Clearly Now the Rain Is Gone. How beautiful is that? I want to be able to see clearly as I move into this space, not through the lens of my beliefs, not through the lens of my programming or conditioning. How many know all of us are being conditioned on a regular basis? If you watch the news, there's nothing new on it, by the way. If you watch the news, you're just going to get a bunch of old, stirred up mess and the process of dividing, because if we can stay divided, we can stay in ego. But when we come together, the ego is diminished. And that's one of the reasons that media and other entities out there want us to stay divided. But the truth is we're all connected on the deepest level. But if we don't make a shift in our consciousness, we don't ever make a shift in our reality. The only way for our reality to change is for our perception to change. I was conditioned before I was even born. Neuroscience says that from about 5 weeks in utero until around 7 or 8 years old, your unconscious mind is doing nothing but recording about 40 million bits of information per second. Somebody say 40 million. 40 million. I want you to think about how many bits of information that is. In other words, in the last second, when you said 40 million, your brain was already recording 40 million bits of data. This computer just keeps filling up with information. And I've said this to you before, and it's a catchphrase that I want us to keep in our mind. If you take in too much information without enough inspiration, your soul will end up in inflammation. Right? So the reason that your body is diseased, which just means to be disconnected from ease, that's all dis-ease is. I'll say it this is a 90s terminology. You're just dissing the ease. Okay, that was bad. Don't tell that joke to anybody, okay? That's why I'm not a comedian by trade. I'm not even sure what my trade is. Sometimes I feel like I should trade it in. But anyway, your dis-ease and the dysfunction is all coming from the programming. I had this thought one day, and then I realized that I don't actually think. My brain thinks. I can entertain thoughts, but I don't actually actively think. Now, I can stop for a moment, and if I stop in that 5% of a day, and I stop in that conscious moment, I can now focus in and choose a thought. But the brain is always calculating. It's always figuring stuff. This is why we have a conversation on the inside, and we don't even know why we're like, y'all know what I'm talking about? You'll be at a stoplight and see somebody who's dressed weird, or at least in your estimation is dressed weird, and the brain starts a conversation you didn't even ask for, right? When it calls, a lot of times we pick up, and we don't even realize that we don't have to pick up. There are times on my list, one of the best things they ever came up with was, what do they call it when you can recognize somebody that's calling you? Caller ID. One of the best things they ever came up with was caller ID, because you know what you can do? Push that side button and don't even ring anymore. You can let it roll to voicemail. And here's the deal. Your voicemail can declare what you want out of your life. Here's the thing. Many of us think that life is cause and effect, but it's not. It's requesting us to cause an effect. The universe is asking us, when are you going to realize you are God? In fact, look at your neighbor, pat him, and say, did you know you're God? Did you know you're God? Does that make you nervous? I mean, some of us, it makes us nervous to say we're God, because we're waiting on this long bearded white guy with a scepter to tell us how it's supposed to be, because we were taught and conditioned that God is out there somewhere. But God is in here. This is why we're responsible for how we're perceiving. Perception is the ultimate reality, whether it's the ultimate truth or not. There was a teacher one time, she was teaching math, and she had a 6-year-old child in her class who was very smart, very intelligent, but was kind of always sort of acting up. He was probably me when I was 6. And she said, I'm going to bring a math problem before you, and I'd like for you to solve this math problem. The little boy said, okay. And she said, if I give you an apple, in fact, I'll read it to you this way, because I like the way it read. If I give you one apple, and one apple, and one apple, how many apples do you have? The little boy confidently said, 4. Dismayed teacher was expecting an effortless answer to this really small and simple question. So she was a little disappointed. Tried not to show it. She said maybe the child didn't listen properly. So she repeated very carefully. It's very simple, and you'll be able to get this right. I believe you can. Listen carefully. If I give you one apple, and one apple, and one apple, how many apples will you have? The little boy had seen the disappointment on the teacher's face, and he calculated again on his fingers. But within him, he was searching for an answer to try to make the teacher happy. So he hesitatingly said, 4? The disappointment stayed on the teacher's face, and she remembered that this little boy loved strawberries, and she thought, well, maybe he just doesn't like apples. Maybe if I bring strawberries into the situation, we'll help this out. So, with excitement and a twinkle in the eye, the teacher said, if I give you one strawberry, and one strawberry, and one strawberry, how many strawberries will you have? The little boy was hesitant. He counted on his fingers, and he said, 3. And the teacher said, oh, thank God. Oh, you got it. You got it. And he said, oh, I got it? And she said, you got it. You got it. She said, but I got one question. When I asked you about apples, why did you say 4? And he said, because I've got an apple in my lunch bag. See, in her estimation and perception was different than his because he knew what he already had. You understand what I'm saying? What I mean is that as we go through this life, we perceive stuff, and so we receive it and sometimes put it on the projector screen, and it's not even the truth or the reality of things because we're too busy judging it based on the conditioning that we already have. Can I get a witness, somebody up in here? Amen. So perception is the ultimate reality, but the perception is built with the beliefs, and so we have lenses that we look through and we have filters that we listen through. You know, they've done a lot of these experiments where you could sit in this room right now and somebody could say something, whisper something in your ear, and you could take it on down the line, and by the time it gets back to me, it will have changed. In some way, it will have changed. If nothing else, the words will have changed. But often, even the idea behind the words will have changed just in that simple movement. So I want to shift my perception. This is one of the reasons I think this movement activity that we're doing. And by the way, William, thank you for 2 weeks in a row of really great movement. I think this is a great way for us to shake out of our traditional ideas. And if it bugs you, good. Welcome to One Love. I think sometimes we've been sent to irritate the planet. I had a preacher one time said to me one time, he said, oh my God, he said, you're the milk of magnesia of the body of Christ. And I said, what do you mean by that? He said, well, if you can't get them moving, I'm not really sure what will. I took it as a compliment, but I'm not really sure. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe he was just saying that church can be full of it sometimes. Anyway, perception is the ultimate reality. We don't see the world as it is. We see it as we are. Some of the meanest people I've ever met in my life called themselves spiritual, or at least called themselves religious. Some of the meanest people I've ever met in my life were in church. And you would think that somehow they would have captured the part about God being love. You know? But I know that we see the world as we are, not as it is. In fact, we even read religious books as we are, not as it actually is. We're interpreting it because ultimately you are the divine connection. So when I see people who read the Bible, well, in fact, I had somebody recently, they asked me, they said, what's the right way to read the Bible? And I thought, man, what a loaded question that is. What's the right way to read the Bible? And so I thought about it for a second, and I just thought on it for a little longer. It was one of those deals that came through on the text message so I could take a minute before I really responded. And I went, I got it. I said, if you read the Bible and it makes you more of a jerk, you're reading it wrong. But we don't read the Bible as it is. We read it as we are. We don't read the Bhagavad Gita as it is. We read it as we are because we're reading it through our perceptions. So how does perception affect or infect your reception? Well, it affects it in every way, and I wrote this down. We are receiving our information through our perception and interpreting through those conditions and the program that's running and possibly ruining our life. Not just running, but possibly ruining our life. Change the program. Change what ends up on the screen of your life. Reception is everything. Last week we had some sound issues. So the people on the other end who are watching live stream were sitting there trying to listen through all of this buzzing and what ended up being ultimately a bad reception. Because it was a bad reception, they were getting a garbled message. Come on, how many know what I'm talking about? Because the reception was all jacked up, the screen was all jacked up. Next week we're going to show, by the way, I'm letting the cat out of the bag on this one. Next week we've been allowed to show Mission Joy. The Mission Joy is a wonderful set of interviews between the Dalai Lama and Bishop Tutu. So we're going to be showing it right here. Okay? Saturday night. That's right, Saturday night. And we'll send all that information out. If our reception isn't good, neither will the viewing of the film be. Because there needs to be a good connection to the right reception. How you're perceiving is affecting how you're receiving, and ultimately it's affecting how you're projecting to the world. This is why even people, listen, technology just works. So people who are using the right technologies, but they're using it for the wrong things, it's working because they are divine too. Even though you feel like that they're, well, I'll say it this way. Why do evil people seem to prosper? Because many of them have connected to the reality that prosperity is a part of their nature. They expect to prosper, and as a result of expecting to prosper, they create a breeding ground for that miracle of prosperity because the technology works. Look at somebody and tell them the technology works. Why is that important? Because what we're teaching and what we're sharing works, but you gotta work it. Somebody say, work it, baby. You got to work it. See, you can't expect somebody else to work it. William's over there learning these movements, and I know Fraser does movements and breathing stuff, and I know that others in this room do the movements, and we wonder why they seem so happy and light, because they're doing the work with the technology that will shift you into another level of consciousness. It changes the perception, it shifts the reception, and as a result, it clears up the screen of life. Now, what does that have to do with conception? Well, what are you impregnating your soul with? Because perception is the seed, reception is getting the seed, and conception is what you end up birthing into the world. Our concepts, Alan Watts said it this way. I love Alan Watts. Alan Watts said it this way. He said, the worst idols in the world are not made of wood and stone, but of ideas. The worst idols in the world are not made of wood and stone, but of ideas. I'll use my word today, concepts. Concepts. Some of us, when we know, I'm gonna say this, and hopefully you'll receive this the way I'm wanting it, because it's just kind of funny to me. Some of us, when we're in certain situations, we need to use contraceptives. We don't need to be allowing some things to impregnate our souls. Sometimes when I get prepared to go to family holiday gatherings, I feel like I need a box of them. You understand what I'm saying? I don't want to impregnate my soul with some of these ideas and concepts. I don't want to get that conception, because I know what I conceive and what I nurture, I birth into the world. This is why St. Paul in the writings to the Philippian church, which by the way is very interesting, if you do some of the history on where Paul actually is when he writes the Philippian church, when he writes in chapter 4 verse 13, I can do all things through Christ, he would just as easily could have said, I can do all things through the Christ's presence or through the perennial force. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. You do realize that when he's writing this to the church at Philippi, he is actually locked to 2 soldiers because they had already dealt with him being broke out of prison by God. There was an earthquake, and all of a sudden Paul and Silas are gone. And so they've been hearing about him raising from the dead and doing these miracles. So they actually strapped soldiers to him 24 hours a day. They came in and out with shifts just in case he just disappeared. They didn't want to have to explain that again. As he's shackled, do you know, I can see St. Paul. He's shackled to these guys, and I can see him dictating, preaching. They got to listen to him preach whether they like it or not. Because he also knew that what goes into the ears and the eyes, you end up conceiving. But he writes, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. But we look at the writings of the scripture and we realize there's a reason that Paul said in the same book, he said, if it's a good report, if it's praiseworthy, if it's joyous, if it's loving, if it's positive, if it strengthens you, think on these things. So in other words, shift your thinking intentionally. Be intentional about what you allow to become a concept within your soul. What you conceive within your mind will manifest into matter, and that's why mind matters. And that is directly related to the perception and the reception that you allow into your life. A concept is nearly always born unless it dies within the womb, and the only way to shift a concept that you're noticing you're producing things in your life that you don't like, the only way to change that is for you to shift the way you think and what you allow yourself to focus on. Because where your focus goes, your energy absolutely flows. Where the focus goes, the energy will begin to flow. So as we move into the month of February, man, this year's already going by so fast. Have you noticed that? It's just like, wow. They told me that when I was 16, that I wanted to be 18 so bad because I wanted to get out of the house. And they said, boy, let me tell you something, well, when you turn 18 years old, it's all downhill from there. It just goes past you just for you. And I know, I'm telling you, Bubba Earl, they were all family members, every one of them. And they said, it's just all downhill, and it just speeds up from there. And they weren't lying. As we go into the month of February, which I'm declaring is the month of love, just because, Valentine's Day and all. As we go into the month of February, and we're going to focus in on what one love really is to us, let's remind ourselves to be mindful that we carry a different kind of faith into February. Y'all, we're on a push. And I know I sound weird when I say this. I really shouldn't even have to say that. There's no point in doing disclaimers anymore, is there? I know this sounds strange when I say this. I really believe that April, there is something about to happen in April. There's a portal that's opening. And essentially, I deeply believe, and I'm asking you to set your intention with me, that there are people that you would have never thought would wake up consciously who are going to all of a sudden become conscious. And it's going to be such an abrupt thing that for some of them it's going to cause whiplash. They're going to need that little neck brace to help them through it. But I believe that as we come into the spring season, there's some people who are about to experience an awakening within themselves, and you're going to be blown away at the people who are going to give you a phone call. And it may very well be the person who has thought you were out of your mind for what you're doing with your spiritual walk. And they're going to want to know what's happening with you. And guess what? You're going to get to share what's happening with you. But as we push into these next few months, I really believe it's important for us to rattle. Well, Taylor Swift said it, shake it off. Let's just rattle ourselves free from anything that binds us. Let's become fluid like never before. Give yourself to the water and find out how wonderful it is to be able to float in that pure presence that you are. Pat yourself on the chest and say, I am pure presence. I am divine. I am pure presence. I am divine. That's so good and so powerful. And if you have a hard time believing it today, I'm asking you to take this challenge. Do it every day. When you wake up in the morning, look at yourself in the mirror and say, you are divine. You are pure presence. Until you get to the place where you just absolutely know it. Because there's a lot of us who know it, mental assent, but our being has not come into full alignment with it. And I think we're on the verge of some of that. This is going to be radical. Some of you are like, it's already radical. I don't understand what the hell else we got to do. I mean, we could be like King David in the Bible and strip naked and dance down the street. But I'm not suggesting, Bob, that we... Bob's like, bow, chicka, wow, wow. Hey, you talk about shaking it off. I think that we really are entering a space where we're not going to, all of the stuff that we've learned is so nice to have knowledge of it, but embodying it, being it. I remember Ram Dass saying, it's really great to know some stuff, but why don't you just go be some stuff? Just go be stuff. Be it. Because that is who you are. You're a human being, not a human doing. We're coming into that beingness. So, sense perception is my ultimate reality, and I know it directly affects the reality I'm living in. If you love the life you're living now with no shifts or changes, and you're good, and I get all the acceptance thing. I understand that. Accept it as it comes. I understand that. There is an element of us, though, who can take our life and we can tweak it to be exactly what we have decided we want it to be. Did you know God's okay with you dreaming your dreams and making your dreams a reality? Did you know that? You're not going to outshine anybody. You're just going to shine as the light that you are. And it's okay to shift your perception toward, I am valuable. I am worthy. I was meant to live the life I want to live. I don't have to wait on corporate America. I don't have to wait on my family to be okay with it. I don't have to wait on my husband or wife to be okay with it. The truth is that many of us are hiding in our fear with these confined spaces because there's a part of us that knows we want to run wild, but there's a big part of us that's afraid to do it. And I double dog dare you to run wild this year like never before. Run wild. Change your perception. Ultimately, that changes the reception, how you receive. And I promise you, you will conceive. And when you do, you're going to birth a baby that's going to change the rest of your existence. All right, let's take a few moments here. I'm going to ask Fraser to come and get ready here in just a minute to share a song with us. But I'm just going to ask you once again, to place your hand on your chest. I do that for, I don't know, there's just a reason. It's almost just kind of endearing. It's an intimacy. It's a feeling of, in fact, I'm going to go further than that. I'm going to ask you to hug yourself. Oh, yeah, just hug yourself right now. There you go. Just love on you right now. You are so worthy of love. You're so worthy of the best life. Let that faith rise within you, shifting your perception and changing the reception and conceiving within your being a new life. What it truly means to be born again. What it truly means to reincarnate. Reincarnating is birthing into this world a new life. Letting go of all that was and just holding on to what is right here in this present moment. Accepting life as it is, but realizing that I can perceive it differently. Instead of seeing obstacles, I see opportunities. Instead of thinking that all of these things that happen that are not in alignment with the menu I picked out for today, is instead of thinking that that's something wrong, shifting my consciousness and how I see it, how I view it. I have the faith to see past it, to see it, really see it. Just love on yourself in this moment. Just love you. And now I'm going to invite us into a series of 3 deep breaths, breathing in through the nose, about 4 or 5 seconds. Hold at the top of that breath for just a moment, and then release it with a sigh. Preparing now for that first breath together. Begin. these two simple words, thank you. Thank you. And that second breath together, begin. And once again, the words, thank you. Thank you. And that third breath together, begin. If you would bring your hands together and bring them to your heart, repeat these simple words, namaste, namaskar, amitabha, aho, om, I am. And so it is. Yummy, yummy, yummy. All right, all right. Fraser, come on up and help us move this energy around just a little more. Y'all welcome Fraser as our residential. He's our resident singer, songwriter.
Well, that might be true, but today I actually have a cover for you guys.
Uh-oh.
If that's okay. If I
Cover.
break the formula a little bit.
I love it.
This is a song that, man, so much love. It used to basically be my anthem. And make sure this is good. It is from a band called Nako and Medicine for the People. Is anyone familiar?
Yes.
If you are unfamiliar, it might just be a calling to get familiar. They are absolutely phenomenal. Nako is just a promoter of peace and love, and I just can't do two things at once.
Perception is the ultimate reality.
One more time, we're gonna try this. But yeah.
We're
so
live, Fresh.
Are we live? Oh, gosh. Can we edit that out? We can do that. All right. So this is a song called "The Budding Trees" by Nako and Medicine for the People. All right.
In the moon of the budding trees, I was gifted new eyes to see all these shifting shapes and ways you can be. Wake the dreams into realities. Wake the dreams into realities. Sunset down and sparkled down our cheeks. The language of new words is how we speak. Pachamama's bringing firelight. Little bears sing by the fireside. Down our cheeks feels like hunger and it tastes like salt. So tap me out and tap me into you. Heal my brain and my body too. Balance my chemistry, hydrate these cells, cause the body talks and meditation helps. The body talks and meditation helps. Oh, 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 a little bit of cinnamon pours as we snoop all up on my A coastal quiver on a quest through the dunes, sandy toes and bottomless curves of the moon. Heavy lifting for Pele's children, and of the goddess soaking cliffs keep building. Plate is full, but appetite has dwindled. I feel a little sick, so I keep the fire kindled. You the pillar, steadfast light of parade reed, and I the dimly burning candle still shaking. Little bones quiver my bones so easy. Now you the guru, now so visualize healing. Yeah, you're the guru, now so visualize leaving. Oh, let her go, for she can no longer feed you. And many children need that fond has barely missed you. I was finally ready, and you were long gone. Too much heavy history. Yeah, you were long gone. Too much heavy history. So tap me out and tap me into you. Heal my brain and my body too. Balance my chemistry, hydrate these cells, 'cause the body talks and meditation helps. The body talks and meditation helps. Oh, 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 little spider weaves a wispy web, crawls to my woods, stumbling to the woods, it catches to my head, crawls behind my ear and whispers secrets. Dragonfly whiz by and sings, now teacher. Edge of the west where water touches land, you are the east with folded maps in hand. Time to increase my frequency, hands alive and bodies talking. Give me some of that wild fox medicine, but keep me here in this wild present tense. Fully supported on new lover's chest. Dawning adventure, sparkle, good song, rest. Dawning adventure, sparkle, good song, rest. So tap me out and tap me into you. Heal my brain and my body too. Balance my chemistry, hydrate these cells, 'cause the body talks and meditation helps. Body talks and meditation helps. Oh, 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 oh.
Thank you, thank you.
All right. Thank you, brother. Everybody start singing with you. Everybody smile at me. Everybody feel good? Yes. Isn't it great to be alive? Yes. Isn't it great to be in love? Yes. I'm in love with all of y'all, by the way. Carrie's good with that. She says she was fine with that. She's like, okay. If you would, I tell you what, stand up on your feet then. Let's do this song together, because this is kind of our theme song, but I just really like it, so I just want to sing it every week. One love, one heart, let's get together and feel say thank you to everybody who helps with the setup of this event on Sundays. Thank you for everyone who gives and invests in it, and the investment box is over there. If you want to share a little blessing, you can. I want to say thank you to Bob and to all of you, everyone who makes this work, okay, in this space. We are together one love, and I believe together we can help affect wonderful change in Birmingham, Alabama, and across the world, right? So give yourself a hand and let's share some love with each other. Come on. I love you.
On the beach, yeah, it makes me feel calm. When I'm calm, I feel good. And when I feel good, I sing. And the joy it brings makes me feel good. And when I feel good, I sing of the joy it brings me. I see birds fly across the sky. Everyone's heart flies together. If food is frying and people smiling, like there is no other way to feel good. And when I feel good, I sing. And the joy it brings makes me feel good. And when I feel good, I say, and the joy it brings. I say, come on along. I know you really want to feel our song. We've got some life to bring. We've got some joy